Okay, good morning, everyone, to Tanya, chapter 37. We are on page 414, section 3, elevating your food to God. This is a very fundamental chapter on the totality of understanding. What is the mission of every Jew and every human being by extension for the soul coming down to this world? What's the power of the mitzvah? And as we know in Tanya, we learned that there are two souls. We have an animal soul, we have a godly soul. And the key is for the godly soul to elevate the animal soul. And elevation is really key to everything. In Hebrew, the word elevation is the word aliyah. Aliyah. So many of you know the word aliyah from doing an aliyah to Israel. Right, going up to Israel, or aliyah can mean also getting a blessing at the Torah, which is an aliyah. You're ascending, you're going higher. But in the neshama, we know that the neshama comes down into a body, so it's a descent. It's a yerida. Yerida means going down. And the rule is, in life, in our journey, we always have times when there is yeridas, when you have a downfall. So the Talmud says every yerida is for the purpose of an aliyah. Every downfall is for the purpose of an elevation, to go back up. But going back up has to be higher than before you went down. Otherwise, there's no purpose. If you go and you come back, you go down and come back to the same place you were before, so what's the point? Rather, the point is going down is a way that it will propel you to go even higher than you were before. And this is the analogy of the soul. The neshama comes down to this world, but the neshama for the soul, it is a tremendous yerida to come down to this physical world. What's the purpose? The purpose is she have an elevation. She have that the soul should have an elevation. If you notice, whenever we have a yahrzeit, we say Kaddish, we wish that the neshama should have an elevation in Gan Eden. What is the definition of an elevation in Gan Eden? So we spoke about this again many times. The soul in heaven has no longer the ability to ascend higher. The only way to ascend higher is via a connection to Hashem, via a mitzvah, via an action or a prayer. Us doing a mitzvah for a soul that is no longer a body, we are elevating, we are lifting that soul to a higher level. So the question is, we're not going to talk now about what happens after we die. We're talking about in our lifetime. Does the soul need to have an elevation in this lifetime? I want to take a vote. Does our soul need an elevation in our lifetime? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes.
Unanimous.
I guess that's the purpose.
To a certain extent, yes, but more, the mission is actually the other way around. The soul in itself does not need an elevation in this physical world. It's not really at home. Rather, the purpose of the soul in this physical world, the physical body, is to elevate the body, is to elevate the mundane, to elevate the world. Tikkun olam.
Change the world.
After we finish our job, then the soul ascends higher. While it's down this world, it's constant in yerida, it's constant in descent, it's in a diving mode.
Because animal soul is from earth. That's what it is, right?
Right. Well, the godly soul, the neshama, needs to elevate the animal soul.
Exactly.
Elevate the mundane.
Exactly.
And it's going to go into the whole topic of klippa again. We know that there is good energy, Hashem's energy, which is the only true existence. However, Hashem also allowed an evil energy to appear, which in essence, it doesn't really exist, but it's more like a force that was created with the sole purpose to challenge, to give us free will. But deep down, even the evil energy is really a God's energy that wants the person to do good. It just has to kind of challenge the person. However, on the format, the body of evil energy is completely evil, meaning there is no holiness to it. And we know everything in this world needs to have godly energy to exist. So how is it possible for something that is evil, that is bad, that it can even exist? When we speak the word evil, we talk about klipa. We use the word klipa in Tanya. How can klipa exist? It has to leach energy from holiness. It sucks energy from holiness. What's our job? Our job is to either to change the format of the klipa and transform the klipa, the negative energy, into holy energy. And that is, I have the possibility to do so via the mitzvahs in Torah. So if I take something that is mundane, I take an apple is klipa. It's not, you see the word, it's not evil, but it's not holy. It's kind of neutral. It doesn't scream Hashem Echad. It doesn't say Shema. It doesn't show me that Hashem exists. And I take an apple, it is, how does the apple, the body of the apple, have the energy to exist? It takes the energy from klipa. When I take the apple and I make a blessing and I eat it on Shabbat, or I eat it because I want to have strength so I can serve Hashem and help people, then I've transformed the apple, the klipa of the apple, into kedusha, into holiness. Then you have what's called the bad klipa. This is like the neutral klipa. The bad klipa, I cannot transform. My job is to reject it. My rejection is my rejection is the mission, how I deal with these situations. So something that is not kosher. Somebody offers me stolen goods, right? The stolen goods is energies from bad klipa. What is my job? My job is not, okay, let me take the stolen goods and give tzedakah. Can't do tzedakah with such money. My job is to reject it. I don't want it. To say no to it. So similar, similar are bodies. So what's our bodies? So he calls here in this chapter, he calls the biological soul, nefesh hachiyunis. It's an interesting word, nefesh hachiyunis. What does nefesh hachiyunis mean? So we mentioned in the first chapters of Tanya, nefesh elokis, the godly soul, nefesh habahamis, the animalistic soul, and then we have nefesh hachiyunis, which translates the biological soul. And there's a debate: is the biological soul and the animal soul, are they the same, or are there two different levels? For our purpose of conversation, let's just take for a moment and think about our bodies. Our bodies has many organs and bones and blood, and the blood, as we learned in Tanya, is actually the force that keeps us alive. So the nefesh hachiyunis, the biological soul, it resides in the blood, is what makes us alive. It's not the neshama. People think that it's the neshama, the soul, the godly soul, that makes us physically alive. Person is alive and he moves and thinks and feels, and then the next moment the person dies. So people think, okay, so the neshama, the soul, was like the operating machine, and now the operating machine expired and the body is dead. Not so. The nefesh hachiyunis, the biological soul, which is also not physical in nature. It's the force, the godly force that gives us life. is what resides in the physical body. The job of the neshama is to elevate the God, the animal soul, or the biological soul, to be a vehicle for the neshama. Which my whole spiel here, my whole explanation is that the point is the neshama does not need to be elevated. It is the body that needs to be elevated. So when I do a mitzvah, when I study Torah, then my body is part of it. My body gets also to be involved in this project. So my body is also holy. So let's read inside, because that will lead us to understand what Mashiach is all about. And again, the power of the mitzvah. And he's going to go into a debate which mitzvah is most powerful of all. Is it Torah study or action? And within action of mitzvahs, which is the most important mitzvah? It's a big chapter, so we're going to have to read through a bit and try to cover as much as we can. So page 414. Section 3, elevating your food to God. In addition to the primary involvement of A, the body, and B, animal soul in a mitzvah act, we will now turn to a secondary involvement of the C, the physical energy that powers them. And yet, another point is that the energizing animal soul's power invested in the spoken words of Torah study or prayer, or in practical mammons, has been completely nourished and sustained by the blood, which is from Klipas Noga itself. This nourishment of the blood being from all the food and drink that you ate and drank, which enters your blood and came under its ruling spiritual force of Klipas Noga, and it became its source of nourishment. So you eat and drink. Who gets the energy? The Klippa. Your body. Your body now is excited. Klippa got some food. So the food and drink that gave you energy are important participant in the mitzvah. And now you utilize your body to do a mitzvah, since the add energy was from the powers of Klipas Noga. Through the blood, it follows that when you do a mitzvah, you elevate that food, Klipas Noga energy too, as Tanya will now explain. So not only did you elevate the body, but you also elevated everything that you entered into your body. And now that you use this food energy in your blood to do a mitzvah, it is transformed from negative Klipas Noga to good and is absorbed into a powers of holiness. Through the power of the energizing animal soul that made your body move to do the mitzvah, since the power of your animal soul was nourished by the food in your blood. And then the power of your animal soul, nourished by the food in your blood, immerse itself in those words of Torah study or prayer, or into that mitzvah act, that mitzvah being the actual inner will of God, devoid of any hiding of God's face. And as a result, the energy from the food in your blood, which powered the animal soul to do the mitzvah, becomes absorbed in the blessed infinite light, which is in the mitzvah, since the mitzvah is the will of God. And along with the energy from the food in the blood, which elevates with the mitzvah, the power of the energizing animal soul, which was used to carry out the mitzvah, is also elevated and absorbed in the blessed infinite light. So we talked the power of the mitzvah is that the mitzvah, you're fulfilling the will of Hashem, which has no filters. In everything that we experience in this physical world, there's filters. There's concealment, God's concealment. The only place that there is no concealment is in the will of Hashem. And by me performing a mitzvah, that it's not the physical act that is it's not the physical act that is the light of Hashem. It is the will that I am fulfilling via the physical act, via me putting on tefillin, via me studying Torah, that I am coming into a direct contact into the will of Hashem, to the Or and Sof, to the infinite light, which by extension, the infinite light will absorb everything I do, or the other way around, my energy, my physical body, my mind, my heart will be able to absorb this infinite light in the most powerful way. And who comes along to the right? Not only my body, but also the food and the drink and the exercise and everything that I brought along, that my body can be part in doing the mitzvah. I want to mention one thing that was in the other chapter, we talked about the struggle of the Banani. That we asked why the Rebbe feels bad for the Banani. He never wins the game, right? Never wins the game. So I listened to Rabbi Jacobson, and he said a line that resonated. Very simple line, but it kind of makes it very simple. Makes it just resonates. He says the difference between Saddiq and the Banani. The Saddiq can experience. He said, Saddiq can experience ecstasy. A Banani, however, experience intimacy. A tzaddik, yes, a tzaddik doesn't have any evil inclination and doesn't have a struggle. And for him, his service to Hashem is ecstasy, he can go to high. But for a Banani that struggles, as we learned in the other chapter, and we say that the struggle in itself is part of the mission, meaning that the infinite light of Hashem is deep down. Where is it found? Not in holiness, in a spiritual realm, but in this physical world where there is struggle. That's where the infinite light is. Why? Because the infinite light is found in the will of Hashem. Where do I find the will of Hashem? Only in the mitzvahs that Hashem gave. Mitzvah means the will of Hashem. There is no mitzvah up in heaven in the spiritual realm. There's no mitzvahs. Angels don't have mitzvahs. Where was the will of Hashem? Where did Hashem want us to build a home for Hashem? In this physical world. So when I do a mitzvah and it didn't come easy and I'm not fully there, my heart is not fully there, and I struggle to do the mitzvah, and maybe one day I do it better, the next day I don't do it as good. I'm the Banani who's struggling back and forth. But precisely there is the power, and of the infinite light to be found, because I'm fulfilling the will of Hashem. So that is my intimate moment I have with Hashem. So ecstasy, no. Intimacy, yes. So which one do you rather have?
God gave us.
Huh?
What we have. We are beings.
That's right. And that's the simcha, that's the joy in knowing that that's where you're at, and knowing that the power of the mitzvah that you fulfill, that brings me joy. I know it's not, because some people just, we just think, if I'm not a tzaddik, I'm not complete. If I'm not a tzaddik, I'm a failure. How can I have simcha? How can I have joy? I'm not getting there. Alter Rebbe says, you'll never get there. That's not the point. The true joy is to be within that struggle, to overcome it, and the struggle back the next moment, and continue doing the mitzvahs that you do. That in itself is the intimacy that you can experience with Hashem. So continue on page 450, section 4, the effects of Klipas Noga elevation. So everything we talked about, again, it's not to elevate the neshama, it's elevate Klipas Noga. So the effect of all this Klipa Noga elevation through the body, animal soul, and the food energy that power them are cumulative and will eventually result in the entire global force of Klipas Noga being elevated to God. And through this entire global force of Klipas Noga will eventually be elevated to, which is the foundational energy of this physical material world. It's going now into the whole idea that it's not only in my personal struggle and my personal elevation of Klippa, but it is we are one big mosaic. The world is interconnected. My action has a direct result in this physical world, because the whole physical world is going through that process. And not only today, but it's cumulative, right? It's compounding interest. All the mitzvahs that we have done for thousands of years, that it's all there. That's what we talk about Mashiach. Mashiach is not a new reality. Mashiach is the match, the lights, the fire, the lights that creates the explosion. You have all this dynamite all sitting there in one big house, and nothing happens. Then one little guy comes and turns on strikes the max. Everything explodes. So you're going to say that guy did it? It's actually a good analogy. All these mitzvahs that we have done, they're not from vain. There are 1,000 years of mitzvah that built the temple already, built Mashiach. Mashiach is already here. Our one mitzvah might be that match. This global elevation will be complete when every neshama and divine soul in all Israel globally will cause every animal soul to observe all the mitzvahs, thereby elevating to higher structure of klippas nogas, we shall see later in the chapter. Tanya, how many souls are we speaking of? It goes a little bit off track, and let's talk about how many souls. So it's an interesting topic, connected to what we just learned in Chumash in the Parsha a few weeks ago. So Israel, the word Israel, refers to a group of souls which is divided into 600,000 core units, which are then further subdivided into millions of souls, which have been spread throughout history. The census of Israelites in the desert after Sinai totaled approximately 600,000 individuals. According to the Kabbalah, this hints to the mystical reality that God created 600,000 basic soul units within the Jewish people, and each of our souls is a spark for one of these core 600,000 souls. All of these souls units need to observe the Torah in order for Klippas Noga to be elevated on a global level. All these souls were present at Sinai. They all got the Torah. So all these souls have to be elevated, or have to observe Torah in order to Klippas Noga to be elevated. The discussion up to this point has centered around making a home for God by observing to 248 positive commandments, with the body and animal soul actively engaging and elevating the world. But how do the 365 negative prohibitions fit into this picture? How do we make a home for God through the prohibitions if they do not demand any action, but rather the cessation of action, the do nots? If we say that my body being involved in the will of Hashem is elevating, is making a home for Hashem, that absorbing the infinite light in my physical being, but there's an action that I have to perform. So we know the 613 commandments, they all have to be performed, as it says in the Kabbalah, that every unit has to fulfill all the commandments. I can only fulfill the positive, I can't fulfill negative. The negative is by me not doing the action. So he says like this: each individual soul must observe all 613 mitzvahs of the Torah, including the 365 prohibitions, in order to keep the body 365 major blood vessels, where the energizing animal soul is found, from being nourished by one of these sins, which will cause them to receive energy from one of the three completely impure klippas. Since it is from the three completely impure klippas that energy flows to the 365 biblical prohibitions and the rabbinic derivatives. So keeping the body free from completely impure klippas by refraining from the 365 prohibitions of the rabbinic derivatives is crucial, because once the energizing animal soul in the blood is contaminated by one of the three impure klippas, it can no longer be elevated to God, since alike the permitted pleasures of klippas noga, which is the neutral klippas. The three completely impure klippas can never be elevated. Rather, they must be eradicated and removed completely. As the verse states, I will remove the spirit of impurity from the earth, indicating that the spirit of complete impurity must be removed. It cannot be elevated. It says, see the Hasidic thought at the bottom. Let's read the bottom in the box. It says, refraining from 365 prohibitions is crucial to keep the body clean from the impure klippas, which will contaminate the system, preventing the body's energy from being elevated to God. So the prohibitions don't actually make a home for God. It's just that violating any of them impedes the process. So just like eating healthy, when you eat something unhealthy, you can be an athlete, eat healthy, but then every hour I'm going to have a Coke. Right? So you know that the Coke is going to impede the healthy eating. So similar, the mitzvahs, the mitzvahs elevate the body, and the prohibitions, the 365 prohibitions from Torah, are a part and parcel of making home for Hashem, because if I do them, I am impeding for the mitzvahs to be able to transform the klippa that I have the ability to. In other words, you can't eat something that's not kosher and with that energy serve Hashem. If you eat something that's not kosher, you are internalizing It's one of the 665 biblical prohibitions. If you have pork, for example, right, which is one of the 635 prohibitions to eat, and then you're going to go and pray with that energy, that is not, you don't have the ability, you're impeding the whole idea of praying and doing a mitzvah, because you're using something that cannot be transformed to try to make a home of Hashem. We're in the last paragraph from 417, and in addition to refraining from the prohibitions, every soul must also observe the 248 positive mitzvahs, which have the spiritual effect of pulling the blessed infant light downwards into this world, and they also have the effect of elevating the person, connecting and merging the whole structure of the energizing animal soul found in 248 limbs of the body to emerge completely with the blessed infinite light. So by preventing the completely impure klippas from entering the body through refraining from the 365 prohibitions, is then no obstacle to elevating the body to God by means of 248 positive mitzvahs. And when this is achieved, even the animal soul becomes literally one with God, thereby fulfilling the will which arose in God's mind before creation, that he shall have a home in the lowest realms, which have now become a chariot like the patriarchs. Your body, your animal soul became like a chariot. What's the definition of a chariot? A wagon follows the horses. A wagon has no free will on its own. Wherever the horses go, that's the wagon goes. It says that the patriarchs and matriarchs were like chariots. They completely were submitted to Hashem's will. They didn't involve their own will, their own selfish will, because they were complete tzaddikim. So the job is to take our bodies and turn them into chariots, our animal soul, turn them into chariots. That is making a home for Hashem. That is what the whole purpose of creation was. The whole purpose is, not just was, the whole purpose of creation is to turn this world as a vehicle, as a home for Hashem. We'll continue on 418 in the middle. Now we can understand the Tanya statement above that klippas Noga, the neutral klippa, will be elevated to God globally when every individual soul will observe the 630 mitzvahs. So this is now going from the micro to the macro. We're going from the individual to the global. So the whole world's existence, the whole universe is really klippas Noga. Correct? The neutral klippa. Majority of it. When I say good, let's put away all the people. let's delete for a moment all people of the world, right? Because people are the troublemakers. The physical universe, the oceans, the forests, the animals. So the animals are not bad, are not evil. Klippas Noga is basically energy that makes the whole world run. Now comes the klippas, the evil klippa, right? And it tries to stick itself into everything in creation. By the way, an animal is it klippa Noga or bad klippa? Any animal. Which is coming from the neutral klippa, or is it coming from the evil klippa?
Neutral.
So we have kosher animals, we have non-kosher animals, right?
Yes.
So is a non-kosher animal, a horse is a non-kosher animal. Is it neutral klippa or is it bad klippa?
Well, if you're not gonna eat it, use it as to work with, then it's good.
Exactly. On that level, humans and animals are the same, right? Humans are not bad klippas. Humans, we have klippas Noga. We have bad klippa inside of us to potentially turn our bodies into something negative. But by definition, when a person is born, it's klipas noga. Animal, klipas noga. In regards to certain animals, about eating, consumption, so it depends. The Torah gives us the rulings. Torah gives us the energy definition of how my soul absorbs food. So just like eating, if I eat, somebody eats pork, the pig is klipas noga. But the moment a person who is prohibited to eat pork eats pork, then the energy of the negative of the negative klippa has attacked that person via the prohibitions that Hashem has put in place. Like money, back to the money situation, right? Money klipas noga. The moment money becomes stolen, for you, it's what? It's back klippa. For the original owner, if you return that money to the original owner, it's back klipas noga. If the original owner gets back his money and gets tzedakah, now the money became holy. So basically, it all depends. How do you pull it in? So now, what he's saying here is there's constant ripple effects. Meaning, God has given the Jewish people a very tough job. God has taken the Jewish people as the chosen nation. Chosen to do what? Chosen to be the people to transform, to make this world a place for Hashem. And to teach it to the remaining of the world. Teach it to all humankind. However, because we were put in charge, God gave us a whole set of rules, 630 commandments. But these rules, as we discussed, are the power, the batteries, so the energy that gives us the ability to do so. Because we have the ability to become intimate with Hashem through the mitzvahs. So when I do a mitzvah, it not only does it affect my animal soul, but it has effect on the entire world. Why? Because how does the entire world get its energy to exist? It has to take its energy from holiness. So just imagine for a moment your whole, let's say we'll give you 100 acres of land. Your 100 acres of land, how did they exist? So imagine there's wires connected to your heart. You doing a mitzvah gives those 100 acres of land power to exist. So if I do a mitzvah, it's not only elevating me, it's elevating everything around me. And because we are like these interconnected people, souls that are so interconnected. So my doing a mitzvah here has an effect on a mitzvah and it's on a person in Israel, in Africa. My prayer here has an effect. So not physical limitations here. I'm just going to go into a little bit here in the on page 418 in the middle. When the whole structure of the energizing animal soul in all of Israel will become a chariot to God, then the whole energy structure of this world, which is currently from klipas noga, will leave its impurity and filth. It quotes from Ezekiel, and be elevated to holiness, becoming a chariot to God. And this will be in the Messianic era, when his glory will be revealed, all flesh will see together that God is speaking. Isaiah 45. What does it say? Glory will be revealed, and all flesh will see together that God is speaking. Again, glory will be revealed. We know when we say revealed means it's already there. Revelation means it's already here, just being revealed. Creation means it wasn't here before, now it's coming to be created. What will be revealed? That the flesh will see together. What's flesh? Flesh is the body. Flesh is the animal soul. Flesh is the biological soul. The flesh will see That means we have elevated the flesh, the body, to be able to perceive God. Our neshama, our soul, sees God all the time. And continue, and he will shine forth over them with the majesty of his triumphant strength. And the glory of God will fill all the earth, and Israel shall see God eye to eye, like all at the giving of the Torah, of which the verse states, you were shown to know that the God is God, there is none besides him, with the emphasis here on being shown God's presence. The Klippus Noga then is destined to be elevated in its entirety to God, but what will become of the three impure Klippus that cannot be elevated? And as a direct result of this global elevation of the fundamental structure of Klippus Noga, the three complete impure Klippus will be entirely consumed and eradicated, because currently the nourishment and the sustenance comes from the realm of holiness via Klippus Noga, which acts as intermediary between them. So therefore, when Klippus Noga will be eradicated, meaning we have elevated it and it becomes eradicated, the three complete impure Klippus automatically lose their source of sustenance and eradicated too. It follows section 5. This is what we talked about last week, which follows the idea of the resurrection of the dead. If there's no more evil, there's no more sickness, no more sickness, no more death. So when Mashiach will come, the soul will come back into a body that can completely sustain the soul forever, because the body is no longer going to be klippa, the body is going to be kedusha, holy. Look over here, section 5. Why your body is so important. Follows then that the ultimate goal of the Messianic era and the revival of the dead, namely the disclosure of divine glory and godliness, and to remove the spirit of impurity from the earth, depends on pulling godliness and the blessing infinite light into the energizing animal souls of all Israel, in all the 248 limbs, through the observance of all the 248 positive mitzvot, and B, to remove the spirit of impurity from the energizing animal soul of all Israel through refraining from all the 365 prohibitions, so that the 365 major blood vessels are not nourished from the completely impure klippos. Which, by the way, is one of the reasons why death happens. Death and being buried and disintegrated, the disintegration process is to purify the body from the klippa, from the back klippa that the body has attached itself. When Mashiach will come, this whole purification process is already done. Now the world is in a state where it completely eradicated evil, eradicated klippa, the back klippa, and the klippus noga, the neutral klippa, was elevated, was transformed. So now the body is ready to come back alive, because now the body is the perfect shidduch, perfect marriage to the soul. By the way, it says that right before Mashiach will come, before the resurrection of the death, everybody's going to have to die for a split second. I see that, huh?
So thank God we got already places.
I didn't hear what you said.
I said that that for one moment, so when Mashiach will come, and the resurrection of the death will happen, right before the resurrection of death will happen, everyone who is still alive has to taste for a split moment, taste of death, to purify their existing body, so they can come back in a body that is completely pure.
So now we don't have, so now that's explained, we don't have to be afraid of death. That says in Torah that we have to experience that, I guess.
Correct. Now let's continue on page 420. So because the overall structure of the souls of Israel, which consists of 600,000 core souls units, represents the foundational spiritual energy of the whole world, which was created for their sake. Yeah, and each individual core soul is designated and contains the energy of 1/600,000th part of the whole physical world. And the elevation of that portion of the world to which a soul has been designated is dependent on that energizing soul's elevation to God. And this elevation of your specific portion of the world takes place when you use this physical world to help your body in energizing animal souls' worship of God, such as eating and drinking, as well as using your home and all its equipment. Just 1 second. 1 second. Okay, I have something I need to deal with. So give me if you guys want to wait 5 minutes. There's just something going on I need to deal with. Nothing crazy. Just nobody else to take care of this. You guys want to hang on for 5 minutes?
Yes, Rabbi.
Okay. Good. Read it, guys. Read ahead. There's a lot to read over here.
Well, everybody being quiet.
Read till section 5. It's important of charity. I'll be right with you. Okay, I'm back. Everyone's still here?
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
When we read that there were 600,000 souls,
Mm-hmm.
we're talking about all 5 parts of the soul, because further on it talks about nefesh and ruach, or is it only neshama, the middle part?
The units are subdivided into 5. Every soul is divided into 5 levels.
Yeah, but when we talk about soul, we mean all 5 levels,
When we
right?
talk about the soul, we talk about the whole package.
But when we read further, it says about nefesh and ruach. It's
Mhm.
also subdivided.
Correct.
But how can nefesh exist without ruach and neshama and the rest of it?
Okay, let's read it. That's where are you referring to?
On 421.
Okay, hold on.
And the same is true with the other parts of the soul, nefesh and ruach.
Mhm.
Which are also subdivided in the further 600. So they're independent, these parts of the soul?
They're not independent, but they kind of they keep kind of spreading out. But they're all kind of like a chain, interconnected.
All 5 of them always connected?
And within the 5, they can subdivide themselves, like we have the 49 sefirot, right? So you can have nefesh and a bit of ruach and a bit of and the nefesh itself can subdivide itself. But then so let's say the nefesh can subdivide itself, and within nefesh you can have neshama of nefesh, you can have ruach of nefesh, and so on.
But within nefesh, you can also have the ruach, or no, it's only nefesh?
Yes.
You can have ruach and neshama?
Yes.
I got you.
And then each world, and so on and on and on.
That I understand. Thank you.
All right, so let's just finish reading till section 5. You guys are already reading, so I'm going to continue reading on 421. We now return to the theme of comfort for a lifelong task of struggling to observe the practical mitzvahs. And each soul spark came down to this world, not for its own sake, but to influence the animal soul and body as well, as we shall see. Before elaborating this point, Tanya now notes parenthetically that for the soul to come to this world represents a very great downgrade, as we talked in the introduction today. Coming into this world is a very great downgrade for the soul, a real experience of exile. But even if that soul body combination were to become a complete Saddiq, worshiping God with reverence and great pleasurable love, that soul wouldn't reach the same level of emotive connection to God, the love and fear that's experienced before coming down to this material world. Neither a part of it nor a fraction of it. There's simply no similarity or comparison at all between the 2 stages, as every intelligent person realizes that the body cannot contain the same level of emotive connection to God as a soul in heaven. So perhaps the same idea of ecstasy and intimacy, the soul before it's in the body, or the soul in heaven, is in the state of ecstasy. But it cannot have ecstasy in the body. So where's the when a person comes downgrade? So the soul has nothing to gain from the exile coming down to a body. Then what is the point of this downgrade? So rather, the soul's downgrade, as is invested into a body and energizing animal soul, is only for the purpose of fixing the body and animal soul, and not for the soul's own sake. This is really the important line here. The power that the soul is not here to elevate the soul. The soul is here to fixing and elevating the body and the animal soul, namely to keep the body and animal soul away from the negative powers of the 3 complete impure klippos, through observing the 365 Torah prohibitions and the rabbinic derivatives, and B, to elevate the energizing animal soul, along with the unique portion of the world at large, which has been designated to that soul, to connect and merge the animal soul world with the blessed infinite light, which is pulled upon the animal soul world through observing all the 248 positive mitzvot, with the energizing animal soul which is mentioned above, is the active force that powers the observance of the practical commandments. And the Tanya now cites a source in the teaching of Arizal for the conclusion that the soul only comes down to elevate the body, not for its own sake. That's stated in Eitz Chaim that the soul itself does not require fixing at all, and was forced into this world, into the body, now the soul, only to pull light upon them to fix them, in a way that is directly comparable to the secret of the Shekhinah's exile, which is for the sake of elevating sparks that have fallen. The soul resembles the Shekhinah in that A did not come down to this world for its own sake, but rather B for the sake of elevating the physical world, with which it becomes enmeshed. So just the powerful words here, that our soul resembles the divine presence. So just like God did not create this world for its own sake, God doesn't need the world. God doesn't need a world. What was the purpose that God created the world? So it can be elevated, the world can be elevated, and the God can become enmeshed. The God's presence can be, like we said in Isaiah, be seen by the flesh, by our eyes, and felt in body to feel godliness, to feel God's presence. So similar, our bodies did not come down, our soul did not come down to this world for its fixing, for its own sake. It came to help the animal soul and the body fulfill their purpose. Which brings us next week to the topic of tzedakah, of charity, and the debate, which is the more important mitzvah, which mitzvah gets to the body of it. We'll discuss this, God willing, next week in good health. Everyone have a happy Memorial Day. And may all those souls who gave away their lives for our freedom be elevated on this Memorial Day. And we pay tribute to them.
Amen.
Also, and on Sunday, we have the great honor to have Chief Rabbi of Russia talk on the Rebbe and on life in Russia. So Sunday, 11 o'clock via Zoom. It's not going to be the same Zoom link, so you have to just register online, and we will email you out a special Zoom link, because it's done between the few Chabad houses here on the West Coast that we have collaborated together. So just 11 o'clock on Sunday. Olaf, did I see Judy came and she left?
Seems, yeah. Seems that way.
That was good to see her. Okay. If you talk to her, tell her I say hi.
Yeah, I'll do.
Rabbi, thank you for amazing lesson today.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you so
Sorry
much.
for the
And many questions, which I'll ask you next week.
Okay, thank you,
Oh,
Rabbi.
yeah.
Okay, sorry for the interruption. I'm sitting here in my office and I see the Chabad house, and my kids are there without anybody there, and somebody pulled in that looked a little bit suspicious, so I had to
Oh, yeah, of course.
Check it out. Yeah,
figure
absolutely.
it out. Okay, all the best.
Thank you, Rabbi. Seid gesund.
Bye-bye.